Introduction. We can't overstate the importance of holding oneself accountable in either our professional or private lives. Personal accountability entails being accountable for one's actions, taking pride in one's work, and acting with honesty and integrity. Personal accountability is a powerful force in developing oneself and fostering meaningful relationships with others. Being accountable for one's actions and how they affect oneself and others builds trust and credibility. Responsible individuals recognize and accept the results of their actions, whether positive or negative. Accountability is also essential for professional success. It comprises accepting responsibility for one's work, completing it within the allotted time frame, and producing excellent results. Accepting responsibility entails owning up to and growing from setbacks. Accountable people don't avoid mistakes or place the blame on others, but instead look for methods to always improve. This encourages a culture of learning and development within organizations, where mistakes are seen as ways to become better rather than as transgressions for which to be punished. Being accountable entails keeping one's word, whether it is to one's loved ones, one's friends, one's coworkers, or one's clients. It entails being aware of the effect our words and deeds have on those around us, and taking initiative to keep our word. When we take responsibility for our behaviors, we are better able to bring them into harmony with our personal ideals. It gives us the freedom to direct our own destinies and act in accordance with our values. Taking responsibility for our actions raises our level of self-awareness and mindfulness. Responsibility helps us build better bonds with others. Taking ownership of our acts shows that we value the feelings of those around us and are willing to work to make amends when necessary. In the business world, taking responsibility for one's actions is crucial to establishing credibility and progressing in one's career. Responsibility is also a driving force behind improvement. When we force ourselves to take responsibility, it helps us define what success looks like and how we can get there. When we accept responsibility for our acts and the results they produce, we gain the freedom to make improvements and ultimately succeed in the face of adversity. The remaining pages of this book will be dedicated to exploring more on the subject of accountability. Chapter 1. The positive effects of accountability. The ability to take responsibility for one's actions is fundamental to personal development and career advancement. Accepting responsibility for one's behavior, choices, and the results of those choices gives people the agency to effect good change and realize their ambitions. Self-awareness is one of the primary benefits of accountability. Self-accountability raises awareness of one's own capabilities, limitations, and development needs. Realizing one's own strengths and weaknesses and making the effort to improve them is the cornerstone of self-improvement. Responsibility also helps people feel more in control of their own lives. When people take ownership of their decisions and the results in their own life, they come to understand that they control their own destinies. Responsibility transforms people from helpless observers to engaged participants in their own development. Taking responsibility for one's actions, both good and bad, fosters a growth attitude and a commitment to constant development. They view adversity not as a threat, but as a chance to learn and improve. They are open to criticism, hungry for education, and dogged in the face of adversity. With this outlook, they are able to recover quickly from setbacks, gain valuable insights from their experiences, and eventually succeed even more spectacularly. Responsibility strengthens moral character. Self-accountability is the process through which people bring their behavior into harmony with their core beliefs. When interacting with others, they always operate in an honest, open, and ethical manner. This dedication to honesty and truthfulness boosts not only their reputation among their peers, but also their own sense of worth and confidence. They are confident in the fact that their daily acts reflect their deepest values. Accountability motivates both goal setting and realization. When people feel accountable for their own development, they are more likely to establish goals that are smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. They plan their goals out step by step, keep score, and force themselves to succeed at each stage. People who accept responsibility for their actions become more resilient and able to deal with setbacks. They have a growth mindset, seeing difficulties as learning experiences. Their ability to bounce back from adversity strengthens their resolve and propels them to long-term success. Responsibility also helps develop self-control and reliability. When people commit to improving themselves, they are more likely to form healthy routines and habits that contribute to their development and accomplishments. They learn to be methodical and focused in their approach to whatever task at hand, whether professional or personal. Personal growth and continuous education are other benefits of accepting responsibility. When people are accountable for their development, they seek out ways to learn and improve. They constantly improve their knowledge and skills by taking classes, participating in training programs, and reading relevant materials on their own time. They make an effort to expand their horizons and competence by learning new things and gaining new experiences. This dedication to self-improvement allows them to thrive in a dynamic and unpredictable world. Taking responsibility for one's actions helps one feel like their life has meaning. When people take charge of their life and achieve their objectives, they act in accordance with their most cherished principles and dreams. They are able to focus on the things that are most important to them, and their lives improve as a result. Having a goal to work towards gives them the drive to succeed and the joy of doing something worthwhile. Taking responsibility for one's actions also makes one more likely to admit mistakes and grow from them. Instead of giving up when faced with adversity, they use it as a learning experience. They reflect on their failures to see where they went wrong and how they may better their tactics. Through this cycle of trial and error, they are able to hone their strategies, strengthen their resolve, and finally achieve greater success. Accountability also helps people feel better about themselves and their abilities. When people keep themselves responsible, they feel rewarded when they follow through on their promises and accomplish what they set out to do. They learn to consistently meet deadlines and exceed expectations, which increases their sense of competence and pride in their work. They will be even more inspired to pursue excellence and test the limits of their abilities thanks to this reinforcement. Responsibility inspires initiative and creativity when dealing with challenges. When people take responsibility for their actions, they are more inclined to look for ways to improve the situation instead of dwelling on the difficulties. They take initiative in figuring out new solutions to problems and navigating complex environments. They use their ingenuity, pulling from their arsenal of talents, insights, and resources to come up with fresh approaches. They become more resilient and gain transferable abilities as a result of adopting a problem-solving mentality. Taking on responsibilities can be intimidating at first. It calls for us to own our fallibility, accept our boundaries, and accept the results of our actions. The ability to take blame, however, is what allows us to develop and improve. We leave the area of passivity and victimhood and enter the sphere of opportunity and growth when we accept responsibility. Accepting accountability develops personal responsibility. It teaches us to analyze the results of our actions and how they influence others. Instead of waiting for approval from others or expecting others to solve our problems, we decide to do something about it ourselves. We start to think like proactive problem solvers who come up with novel approaches and refine their methods based on their experiences. Taking ownership also helps build resilience. Accepting full responsibility for one's circumstances is a powerful way to draw on one's inner strength and perseverance in the face of life's inevitable disappointments and obstacles. We don't let setbacks deter us, but instead view them as challenges that might help us develop. When we experience adversity, we learn to adjust, keep going, and ultimately discover deeper significance. Taking on responsibilities allows us to persevere through difficult times, recover from setbacks, and press on towards our goals with confidence and resolve. Taking responsibility entails acting in accordance with our greatest values and principles, keeping our word, and keeping our word with others. When others recognize our dependability and genuineness, it strengthens the trust we have in ourselves and the bonds we have with them. Taking on more and more responsibility brings with it a heightened sense of awareness. We learn more about our capabilities, limitations, and growth potential. Having this kind of insight into oneself enables us to make decisions and take deliberate steps that get us closer to our hopes and dreams. As we grow in self-awareness, we're better able to follow the callings that truly matter to us. Taking on more responsibility helps one develop mentally and intellectually. When we admit fault, We give ourselves the chance to learn from our errors and grow as people. We don't shy away from or ignore our mistakes. Rather, we look for ways to learn from them and improve for the future. Taking on accountability increases credibility and confidence. Others will respect and admire us more if they realize that we always bear the consequences of our actions. They have faith in us since we always deliver on our promises and solve problems promptly. Intimate and professional networks can flourish when people feel safe enough to work together and take on leadership roles. Responsibility also prompts us to look beyond our immediate circumstances and consider how our actions will affect others. Our awareness of our influence on the world around us and on future generations grows. We are compelled by this insight to make decisions that put the interests of future generations, social justice, and the welfare of others first. Taking on responsibilities also aids in overcoming anxiety and doubt. When we accept responsibility, we admit that we can make a difference in our lives. This outlook allows us to leave our safe spaces and try exciting new things. When we approach the unknown with the confidence that we can change and overcome any challenge, our resilience grows. Accepting accountability is a path to happiness as well. Taking charge of our own lives is a great way to feel successful and happy. We've moved from being onlookers to full players in our own adventure. Taking on responsibilities also helps foster an optimistic outlook. We don't waste time being negative or brooding over our failures. Rather, we look for ways to improve and grow as a result of our experiences. We start actively looking for ways to get better and expand our capabilities. This optimistic perspective helps us personally and also boosts the spirits of those around us. Chapter 2. A brief introduction to accountability. Responsibility and being able to defend one's choices are at the heart of the concept of accountability. Increasing productivity and performance inside an organization is directly tied to a culture of accountability. Accountability is essential for sustaining confidence and producing desired results in any organization. Considerations of social and ethical impact are yet another facet of accountability. It is our duty as community members to avoid doing anything that can cause harm to others or violate their rights. To be ethically responsible, one must act in accordance with one's moral values and consider the repercussions of those choices. It also includes calling others out when they cross the line, speaking up against unfair practices, and working to improve society as a whole. The concept of accountability is not limited to formal structures of authority or groups of people interacting with one another. Responsibility for one's actions and how they affect others is an essential part of interpersonal accountability. Having integrity is always doing what you say you're going to do, treating others with respect, and admitting when you're wrong and asking for forgiveness. By taking responsibility for our actions in everyday situations, we can create bonds of trust and understanding amongst others. Accountability is an effective method of self-development. Self-accountability means doing what we say we're going to do and sticking to our promises to ourselves. Holding ourselves accountable compels us to push through setbacks, draw wisdom from mistakes, and keep going even when the going gets tough. Accountability, in its many forms, is fundamental to the functioning of our society. Embracing responsibility at all levels promotes openness, trust, and honesty, leading to stronger groups, teams, and people overall. Accountability, on the other hand, is not a fixed idea. Rather, it develops and changes in response to the evolving requirements and complexities of our society. For example, responsibility for the environment and long-term sustainability has come to the fore in recent years. There is a growing expectation for individuals, businesses, and governments to take responsibility for their actions' effects on the environment. The development of technology has also added new responsibilities. Data privacy and cybersecurity are now major issues because of the digital age. Both individuals and institutions need to be held liable for maintaining the security of sensitive data and the ethical application of technological resources. The proliferation of social media platforms has also increased the importance of holding people accountable for their actions in virtual communities, where the spread of false information, bigotry, and cyberbullying can have far-reaching effects. Responsibility is intrinsically linked to principles of fairness and equity. It entails tackling the prejudice, discrimination, and unfairness that might persist at the societal level. Creating a more just and inclusive world requires holding institutions and individuals responsible for their actions. It's crucial to remember that accountability is about more than just passing judgment and handing out consequences. Restorative practices that enable individuals to reflect on and correct their wrongdoing are an important part of accountability. Individuals, groups, and institutions must all work together to foster a culture of accountability. Clear structures and methods that encourage transparency, allow for oversight, and ensure repercussions for noncompliance are essential for fostering accountability in all its forms. A strong foundation for accountability can be laid with the help of education and awareness. By teaching people about their rights and giving them the tools they need to exercise those rights, we provide them the ability to hold themselves and others accountable. This can be accomplished through the implementation of course materials that highlight the importance of ethics, critical thinking, and community service. Accountability relies heavily on group effort and mutual respect. Stakeholders need to coordinate their efforts to solve difficult problems. Partnerships between governments, civil society organizations, corporations, and communities, in which multiple viewpoints are considered and taken into account, can help achieve this goal. Accountability is a bedrock that supports the growth and prosperity of societies. By delving into its many facets and making it an integral part of our lives, we can build a society in which everyone, from individuals to institutions to governments, is held accountable for their contributions to a more equitable, environmentally sound, and economically prosperous future. The need of introspection in becoming accountable. In order to become accountable, self-awareness is essential. When we have an in-depth knowledge of our own inner workings, our thoughts, feelings, abilities, and limitations, we are better able to consider how our decisions will affect those around us and behave accordingly. Introspection, the process of looking within and examining oneself, is the first step towards developing self-awareness. We can learn more about our own values, beliefs, and driving forces by reflecting on them on a regular basis. As a result of this increased self-awareness, we are better able to assess our actions in light of our values and make deliberate choices that are consistent with our ethics. When we have a healthy dose of self-awareness, we can see where we went wrong and accept responsibility for it. We may stop pointing fingers and denying responsibility by realizing that our behaviors are a direct reflection of who we are. Self-awareness aids us in navigating the intricacies of social interactions. It allows us to put ourselves in other people's shoes, gain insight into how they see the world, and think about how our actions might affect them. The need to behave in a way that is courteous, fair, and just becomes more apparent as we see how our actions affect others and how they in turn affect us. Transparency and open dialogue are also encouraged when people are self-aware. People who know what they're good at and where they could use improvement are more open to hearing other people's opinions and improving as a result. Individuals hold each other to high standards while encouraging one another's development, leading to an environment where communication, collaboration, and collective accountability flourish. Knowing oneself well is crucial for establishing and accomplishing both private and public objectives. Identifying our goals, skills, and room for growth allows us to create feasible strategies and keep ourselves accountable. Through this method of self-monitoring, we may keep tabs on our development, change as needed, and maintain our focus on the outcomes we seek. Self-awareness is essential in promoting a culture of accountability in the workplace. Self-aware leaders inspire their colleagues by taking responsibility for their own actions and growing as a result of both their triumphs and mistakes. Because of the emphasis placed on personal responsibility and the recognition that improvement is more important than retribution, this culture encourages its members to take calculated risks. Self-regulation, which is rooted in self-awareness, is a crucial factor that increases personal responsibility. Self-regulation is the skill of bringing one's own mental processes and actions into harmony with one's goals. It requires establishing firm limits, controlling one's desires, and keeping oneself disciplined in the face of difficulties or temptations. Accountability and self-control go hand in hand, since both necessitate that we act in accordance with our own values and principles. Making decisions that are in line with our beliefs and aims, despite the presence of temptations, is an essential part of self-discipline. Self-control is an expression of moral conviction and a recognition that one is responsible for one's actions and the results they produce. Self-control also helps one become more resilient and persistent. Self-aware and self-regulated people are more resilient in the face of adversity and are better able to keep their word. They are mentally robust enough to change their strategies as circumstances demand without losing sight of their obligations. Self-control also helps develop a feeling of independence. People are more willing to work on themselves and make positive contributions to society when they have a realistic understanding of their strengths and weaknesses. Individuals with a robust sense of agency take responsibility for their choices and work to influence their own lives and the world at large. Awareness of one's own strengths and weaknesses encourages growth and development as a person. By being honest about our accomplishments and shortcomings, we can better accept the suggestions and criticisms of others. Having a deeper understanding of oneself also helps us form more reliable bonds with others. When we have a healthy sense of self-awareness, we are cognizant of how our actions affect those around us and motivated to act with honesty and sincerity at all times. By raising individuals' levels of self-awareness, we can help strengthen interpersonal and societal accountability. Misconceptions about responsibility. The idea that responsibility entails only culpability and condemnation is widely held yet incorrect. The word accountability often conjures up images of being reprimanded, having one's name tarnished, or facing legal repercussions. But real responsibility goes beyond mere punishment. Responsibility means owning up to wrongdoing and making an effort to make amends for it. Accountability is not just about assigning fault. It's also about encouraging development and progress. Another common misconception about accountability is that it is something that is enforced from the outside. Some people may think that accountability is something that must be imposed from the outside by authorities like managers or the law. However, personal responsibility must come first. Understanding how one's actions affect other people and the system as a whole is a prerequisite for taking responsibility and acting on it. Another common misunderstanding is that responsibility only ever occurs once. When someone is finally made to face the consequences of their actions, they may feel that they've done their part. However, the process of accountability never ends. Maintaining an ethical stance calls for constant introspection and action planning. Accountability is everyone's business, at every level of any given group or society. It is not the responsibility of just one person or a small group. Clear expectations, transparent processes, and enabling systems all contribute to an environment where accountability thrives. Some people also believe that accountability is only important when things go wrong. Accountability is essential in such situations, but it's also vital when things go well. Essential elements of accountability include acknowledging and celebrating successes, recognizing the efforts of individuals and teams, and maintaining openness in decision-making. Another widespread misunderstanding is that accepting responsibility indicates weakness. Some people may oppose or avoid being held accountable because they see it as an admission of fault or ineptitude. However, this view fails to account for the bravery and spirit necessary to own up to one's mistakes. Integrity, modesty, and a dedication to bettering oneself are hallmarks of those who take responsibility seriously. Another widespread misunderstanding is that accountability is the same thing as being at fault or being punished. This misconception fuels a natural resistance to taking responsibility. Taking responsibility for one's acts, learning from them, and making adjustments if necessary are the hallmarks of accountability, not placing blame or seeking punishment. The idea that accountability is merely making reports to superiors or authorities is another common fallacy. Reporting and openness are crucial parts of accountability, but they are not the only parts. Self-evaluation, introspection, and soliciting input from colleagues and other interested parties are also important components of accountability. It's also common to think of responsibility as a one-way street, in which others are the only ones to hold others accountable. It is essential for people to hold one another accountable if they want to foster an environment of accountability and trust. Chapter 3. Accountability and its influence. Individuals who practice personal responsibility accept accountability for their decisions. It's a sign that they're ready to take charge of their lives and realize they have the power to make changes in it. This acknowledgement lays the groundwork for accountability by fostering an awareness of one's own agency and the effects of one's actions. Taking responsibility for one's own actions in life is made possible by a sense of personal ownership. It encourages a mindset of independence, in which individuals recognize that they control their own destinies. When people take responsibility for their actions, they raise their awareness of how their actions affect them and those around them. They are aware that their actions have consequences for themselves, their loved ones, and the community at large. Having a sense of responsibility fosters honesty and morality. When people take charge of their lives, they act in ways that are consistent with their core beliefs. They understand the value of doing the right thing and giving thought to how their actions will affect others. Taking responsibility for one's actions is vital to one's own progress. Individuals can foster a culture of constant progress by taking responsibility for their actions. They look at setbacks as teaching moments and try to figure out how to make things right again. Instead of passing the buck or making excuses, they own up to their mistakes and work to put things right. Taking responsibility also boosts credibility and trust. People are more likely to appreciate and trust those who have shown themselves to be accountable. Those who are consistent and faithful in their duties are held in high esteem by their peers and loved ones. The foundation of any solid relationship or productive team effort is trust. People are more likely to put their trust in those who take responsibility for their actions and deliver on their promises. When companies encourage employees to take initiative, it creates a culture where people feel valued and appreciated. Increased productivity, better collaboration, and greater job satisfaction are the results of holding individuals accountable for their actions and the results they produce. When everyone in an organization feels that they have a stake in the company's success, it fosters a culture of dedication to excellence. Understanding the connection between individual responsibility and accountability is fundamental to development on all levels. It encourages people to improve themselves via introspection and action. Individuals can foster a culture of trust and dependability by accepting responsibility for their actions. By taking responsibility for one's actions, people become more engaged citizens. They understand the value of participating in democratic processes through things like voting and campaigning for social causes and volunteering. They recognize that establishing a fair and equitable society is everyone's responsibility, not just their own. Individuals are more likely to adopt a long-term view when they are made aware of the positive effect that personal responsibility has on accountability. They realize that the decisions they make today will have long-term consequences for the generations to come. Individuals who take responsibility for their actions understand the importance of thinking about how their choices will affect others and the world at large, whether it be in terms of environmental sustainability, social fairness, or economic prosperity. Taking responsibility for one's acts and making amends is crucial to preserving trust and developing strong bonds in any relationship, whether it be a romantic one, a platonic one, or a family one. It calls on people to take responsibility for their actions, apologize when appropriate, and correct the harm they've caused. Another area where taking responsibility has a noticeable effect is on one's own hopes and dreams. When people have a sense of ownership over their goals and aspirations, they are more willing to work towards achieving them. They know that success requires them to do the work, make the sacrifices, and keep going even when things become tough. Taking responsibility for one's actions strengthens willpower and resolve. Those who accept responsibility for their goals are less inclined to offer excuses or place the blame on others. Instead, they are proactive in their pursuit of learning, open to receiving criticism, and willing to make adjustments based on what they discover. Setting specific, attainable goals and demanding a lot from oneself is also an important part of being accountable when it comes to achieving those goals. When people take responsibility for something, they set concrete goals and timelines, laying the groundwork for accountability. They keep themselves on track to attain their goals by analyzing their progress and holding themselves to their own standards on a regular basis. Leaders who take responsibility for their actions model the behavior they hope to see from their followers. They foster an atmosphere of responsibility and accountability, encouraging everyone to do their part. The members of the team recognize that their actions and contributions affect the team as a whole. Therefore, they are more likely to work together and be cooperative. Individual responsibility and ownership promote a productive and pleasant workplace. A culture of learning and improvement can flourish when people stop pointing fingers and start taking responsibility for their own actions. Rather than being used as justification for reprimand, mistakes are treated as learning experiences. This promotes trust, cooperation, and the exchange of ideas and criticism. Therefore, organizations that encourage employees to take responsibility for their work foster an atmosphere of open communication, teamwork, and constant progress. The more we train ourselves to believe that our actions and choices have consequences, the more self-reliant and accountable we become. By developing an attitude of responsibility, we are able to escape the prison of a victim mentality. We stop letting our circumstances define us and start taking responsibility for our internal states and the results they produce. This new outlook gives us the strength to persevere, the courage to welcome change, and the flexibility to confidently handle any challenge that comes our way. Chapter 4. Goal Setting. It is crucial to one's development and success to set goals that are both significant and attainable. It's important to go into the process of goal setting with a clear head and an awareness of what matters most to you. Think about the things that are most important to you. Think about the things that make you happy and give your life meaning. By digging deep, you can identify improvement targets that are in line with your values and priorities. Now that you know what you care about most, you can turn that into a set of tangible goals. Imagine the future you want to make and the actions you'll need to take to get there. Create smaller, more attainable goals that will help you stay on track while you work towards your final goal. Keep in mind that finding the right mix of aspiration and practicality is essential for goal setting. Don't limit yourself. Set lofty but attainable objectives. Think about what you can accomplish with the time, energy, and resources at your disposal right now. Maintaining this equilibrium will increase your drive and confidence, helping you accomplish your goals. Make sure your objectives are concrete and quantifiable. Instead of making wishful statements, make specific, measurable, and achievable objectives. In doing so, you will have a defined path forward and be able to monitor your successes along the way. The timeline in which you hope to achieve your objectives should also be taken into account. Plan for the unexpected by setting deadlines that will allow you to make steady progress despite the setbacks. Recognize that changes in life circumstances may necessitate adjusting your time frame. You should also make sure that your goals have some sort of personal significance to you. Find goals that align with your deepest convictions and your best hopes for the future. It's much easier to maintain dedication, motivation, and drive towards a goal when you feel a personal connection to it. Keep in mind that goal setting is not a one-and-done activity. It's important to check in on your goals on a regular basis to make sure they're still in line with your changing priorities. Mark small victories along the road and make course corrections as necessary. An attitude of tenacity, resilience, and adaptability will serve you well as you set out on the path to realizing your ambitions. Realize that failure and difficulty are inevitable in any worthwhile endeavor, and that they present invaluable learning and development opportunities. Try to keep your chin up and know that you can get through this. Seek out original answers, try out new methods, and don't be hesitant to ask for assistance when you're stuck. Get yourself a group of positive, encouraging people, whether they be friends, mentors, or people with similar goals. Having a system of accountability in place might help you stay on track and keep your momentum going. This can be done in a variety of ways, including keeping a progress log, writing in a notebook, or telling others about your intentions so they can help hold you accountable. Keep in mind that the process of goal setting is just as important as the destination. Enjoy the maturation and introspection that comes with making progress towards your objectives. It's important to keep reevaluating your journey's objectives to make sure they're still in line with your changing priorities and situation. Your objectives may need to be modified as you gain experience and knowledge. Setting and working towards goals that matter is an inherently individual and life-altering process. It demonstrates your dedication to personal growth, your courage in the face of adversity, and your determination to design a life you love. It's crucial to strike a balance between looking ahead to the future and living in the here and now as you move forward on your path to success. While knowing your end goal is important, so is enjoying the journey there. Maintain an attitude of gratitude and awareness as you strive to achieve your objectives. Don't forget to celebrate the little triumphs and growth that you've made along the way. The practice of gratitude has been shown to improve mental health, boost energy, and spark creativity. Adopt a growth attitude by viewing setbacks as challenges to be overcome. Realize that challenges and disappointments are not tests of your value or ability, but rather learning opportunities. Adopt a positive attitude towards adversity and see setbacks as learning opportunities that will make you more capable of achieving your goals in the long run. Maintain a constant focus on your own health and well-being. Take care of yourself on all fronts, since your state of mind, body, and spirit affects your motivation and productivity. Exercise, meditation, quality time with loved ones, and pursuing interests and hobbies that bring you joy should all be high on your list of priorities. Find new sources of motivation and never stop learning. Get yourself some books, podcasts, or courses that will help you achieve your goals and teach you something new. Get involved in lifelong education and self-improvement to sustain your drive and enthusiasm for success. Keep in mind that success is an ongoing journey, not a final destination. Set increasingly difficult objectives as each one is reached. Consider the process of goal setting and attainment a never-ending circle that will lead you to a life that is both meaningful and satisfying. Setting goals and ensuring they are in line with one's ideals. Consider your values first. These are the bedrock concepts that inform your every action and decision. Think about the traits you admire most in yourself, such as kindness, generosity, bravery, or originality. You can create your hopes for other parts of your life on top of these principles. Think about your hopes and dreams next. In terms of work, love, maturity, and happiness, how do you see your future unfolding? Think about your own concept of success rather than the conventional one. It is through this approach that you may create goals that are in line with your values and intended outcomes, as you will have acknowledged both short-term and long-term goals. It's crucial to maintain a sense of realism and take into account a wide range of potential roadblocks as you set goals. Think about what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you lack, and what you can do. Find a happy medium between lofty goals and realistic ones, setting objectives that are difficult enough to spur development, but nevertheless doable given your current situation. Think about how your high expectations affect your relationships and the world around you. Are you expecting things that are consistent with who you are and what you believe in? Think about how they might affect your connections, your neighborhood, and the world at large. Instead of creating harm or not caring about the well-being of others, try aligning your goals in a way that promotes positive engagement, collaboration, and mutual respect. Be flexible in your expectations. Since life is dynamic and situations can alter suddenly, it is important to frequently evaluate if your goals are still in line with your values and your ever-developing sense of self. Recalibrate as necessary to keep your goals and ideals in line. Have a positive attitude towards the process and be flexible as you go. Doing so will provide you with a foundation for living an honest life, pursuing worthwhile ambitions, and achieving success in your professional and personal endeavors. Learn to express your needs clearly and set appropriate limits so that others can meet your standards. Communicate your wants, needs, and limits while remaining receptive to and accepting of other people's viewpoints. When both parties know what is expected of them, the partnership or collaboration can flourish. Self-care is an essential aspect of setting realistic goals that are in line with your values. Make sure you're feeding your mind, body, and spirit by setting aside time for introspection, self-care, and spiritual pursuits. By prioritizing your own health and happiness, you will be better able to stay true to your principles. Embrace your own development and learning. Allow yourself to grow from each new experience, difficulty, and opportunity, and readjust your goals and expectations accordingly. Accept mistakes and setbacks as opportunities to grow and learn, and to adjust your goals accordingly. It's crucial to work on building resilience and being open to the prospect of change as you move forward on the path of defining your goals and aligning them with personal values. Unpredictability abounds in life, so it's important to be ready to readjust or reframe your expectations when necessary. It's also important to have a strong group of people around you that either share your values or respect and accept them. Find people who can help guide you, encourage you, and hold you accountable. Participate in introspective dialogues that push you to hone your expectations and strengthen your commitment to your principles. Setting achievable goals. Setting goals and developing a detailed strategy is an effective way to pave the way to success. You can increase your chances of success and happiness by charting a deliberate course towards your goals. Think about where you want to end up, the ideal outcome of all your efforts. Give yourself permission to delve deeply into your imagination and create a detailed picture of what your version of success would look like. Take this dream as your North Star and let it light your way. Focus on the here and now while keeping your destination in mind. Think about the qualities you possess and the things you hold dear. Find out if they complement your ideals for success. Recognizing your individual strengths can help you determine the best path forward. Have faith in yourself. You already have all you need to succeed. Create a rough outline of your objectives next. Think of them as building blocks for your future success. Divide them up into smaller, more manageable pieces that will get you closer to your goal. Challenge and motivate yourself with goals that are both attainable and lofty. Allow your goals to serve as the stepping stones to your accomplishments. Keep openness and adaptability in mind as you move forward. Getting where you want to go isn't always a linear process. Recognize the challenges and setbacks you encounter as learning experiences. Keep your target firmly in mind, but be ready to make course corrections if required. Planning should be a top priority alongside goal setting. Make a plan that details the steps you need to take to achieve your goals. Make a schedule to give yourself some guidelines and a feeling of where you're going. Dissect each objective and arrange its constituent parts in a way that makes sense. As you advance, it's important to build a team of people that have faith in you and your goals. Find people who have been where you want to go and can help guide you and support you along the way. Working with others and learning from their experiences can greatly improve your path and increase your chances of success in the face of adversity. Keep in mind the importance of developing routines that aid your progress towards your objectives as you continue on your path to success. Discipline and regular effort are necessary for success. Make sure your daily activities are contributing to your long-term goals by establishing rituals and routines that reflect your values. Every day is a new chance to do a few things that will eventually add up to a big success. Take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Maintain your health through regular exercise, healthy eating, and plenty of sleep. Focus on improving your mental and emotional health through introspection and awareness. Look for ways to better yourself and gain new experiences and information. Realize that difficulties are opportunities for learning and development, not indicators of inadequacy. Acquire the flexibility to change course, make amends, and gain insight from setbacks. Adopt the attitude of a person who enjoys solving problems and uses their ingenuity to triumph over adversity. Think about the values you brought to this journey and how they connect with the path you're on. Make choices and take activities in accordance with your principles to keep your pursuit of achievement genuine and worthwhile. Your trip ought to be a reflection of your values and character. Recognize small victories along the road. Acknowledge and celebrate your progress towards your goals by focusing on the progress you have made thus far. Recognize the progress you've made and the ways in which you've changed as you've moved forward. Take stock of what you've accomplished and what you've learned as you near the end of your plan. Recognize the person you've developed into and the impact you've made along the way. Practice being thankful for the things that have happened to you and the chances you've had. Keep an attitude of gratitude and optimism as you go about your incredible journey to achievement. Adopt the mindset that you can achieve everything you set your mind to. Keep a positive attitude no matter what, and see failures as stepping stones to success. Drop the negative thoughts and replace them with confident assurance that you can handle whatever that comes your way. Always be on the lookout for and receptive to fresh information. Adopt a mindset of insatiable curiosity, eager to explore new ideas and information in order to keep one step ahead of the competition. Keep an open mind and heart, for the world is always changing. You can confidently adapt to the ever-changing marketplace and capture the new chances that present themselves if you embrace innovation and maintain flexibility. Don't be scared to shoot for the stars as you advance in your career. Challenge your assumptions and try something new. Don't let the constraints of others' expectations or social standards hold you back. Have faith in your abilities and follow your heart to achieve greatness. Keep in mind that the greatest accomplishments are frequently attained in the course of attempting audacious goals. Chapter 5. Fostering the culture of accountability in organizations. Organizational growth and development depend on a culture of accountability. It's the practice of making everyone in an organization accountable for their contributions to a shared goal and willing to accept the consequences of their own and others' actions. When establishing a culture of accountability in your company or team, it's important to keep in mind the following factors. It's crucial to have well-defined goals. Setting clear targets and measurements for success ensures that everyone is on the same page. When people know what is expected of them, they are better able to coordinate their efforts and make calculated decisions. Second, the importance of good communication cannot be overstated. Fostering transparent and honest lines of communication leads to increased trust amongst team members. People are more likely to take responsibility for their acts and acknowledge their own faults in an environment where trust is valued. Accountability relies heavily on regular and constructive criticism, since it shows people where they can improve and gives them a chance to develop their skills. Thirdly, leadership plays a significant influence in encouraging responsibility. Creating a culture of accountability requires leaders to set an example. Leaders who take responsibility for their own actions and choices inspire others to do the same. Leaders are responsible for assisting their teams in overcoming obstacles and making the most of available opportunities. Fourth, giving people agency is essential to establishing responsibility. Individuals are more likely to feel responsible when given the freedom to make judgments and the authority to take control of their work. To empower people, one must give them authority over their work, equip them with the tools they need, and celebrate their successes. Encouraging a growth and learning mentality is essential. Creating a culture where accountability is valued requires cultivating in individuals a mindset that sees setbacks not as condemnations, but as opportunities to grow. Instead of assigning blame when errors are made, it's better to work together to figure out what went wrong and then figure out how to avoid it in the future. An accountability-enhancing system must include means of monitoring and assessing output. A culture of continuous improvement is fostered by routinely assessing the status quo, comparing actual results to intended ones, and holding people accountable for their contributions. This includes being there to lend a helping hand when asked, as well as pointing out and praising accomplishments. Developing accountability within organizations and teams necessitates establishing clear expectations, encouraging open communication, displaying leadership, giving employees agency, encouraging a growth mentality, and monitoring and assessing performance. By using these strategies, businesses and teams can foster a culture where everyone feels empowered to take responsibility for their work and make a positive impact. Building a community that welcomes and values everyone is crucial. When people believe they are contributing to a worthwhile cause, they are more inclined to accept responsibility for their actions and deliver results. Every member of an organization should feel like they belong there and that their ideas and perspectives are valued. It's also crucial to define everyone's specific responsibilities. It's much simpler to hold people accountable for their work when they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing and how it fits into the bigger picture. This specificity helps eliminate ambiguity and make sure everybody knows their roles. Accountability can be improved through the use of well-designed systems and processes. It's important to have efficient methods of project management, task tracking, and performance assessment in place. Such systems enable for monitoring of progress, prompt interventions, and the identification of problem areas. One strategy for fostering responsibility is to encourage employees to take pleasure in their contributions. When people invest themselves emotionally and intellectually in their work, they are more inclined to assume responsibility for its results. The best way for businesses to motivate their employees is to reward them for their efforts, help them advance their careers, and give them something to work towards. Maintaining responsibility requires swift action in response to conflicts and difficulties. Instead of letting problems fester, it's better to confront them head-on and work through them together. Maintaining a culture of accountability and resilience is aided by encouraging individuals to take responsibility for their actions and work together to identify solutions. Priorities growth and improvement as ongoing processes. Investments in training courses, workshops, and mentorship schemes can pay dividends for businesses and their employees alike. Organizations may help employees take charge of their own careers by encouraging a growth attitude and supporting employees' thirst for knowledge. Setting explicit consequences for actions or inactivity is another way to increase accountability. While it's crucial to cultivate a setting that encourages growth and development, it's also vital to stress the importance of personal accountability. One aspect of this is making sure that people are held responsible for things like completing tasks on time and as standard. Individuals are more likely to accept responsibility and deliver on their obligations when they are aware of the repercussions of falling short of expectations. Fostering accountability requires a climate of trust within an organization or team. Individuals are more likely to be truthful, open, and dependable when they know they can count on being trusted with their actions. Trustworthiness can be shown by leaders and team members sticking to their word, keeping information private when it has to be, and taking criticism well. Building a trustworthy environment encourages people to own their choices and do their best work. Building a culture of accountability also requires encouraging individuals to take pride in the successes of the group as a whole. Recognizing and honoring achievements not only shows appreciation for the efforts of people involved, but also drives home the value of personal responsibility. Accountability programs work because they encourage good behavior by showing people the positive results that can be achieved when they take responsibility for their actions. Creating a culture of accountability also involves facilitating learning and development opportunities. Companies would do well to fund programs like workshops and mentoring schemes that help employees develop new abilities. Team members can take more initiative and produce greater results when provided with the resources they need to do their jobs effectively. Accountability can also be fostered by providing a setting that is conducive to taking risks and learning from setbacks. People are more likely to take the initiative and accept responsibility for their actions when they believe they can make mistakes without suffering severe consequences. Failures should be viewed as learning experiences, and employees should be encouraged to take stock, evaluate their actions, and make adjustments based on what they've discovered. Building a culture of responsibility in an organization requires a strong foundation of teamwork and collaboration. When people collaborate to achieve a common goal, they must each take some responsibility for the team's success or failure. Accountability can be cultivated at the individual and group levels by encouraging cooperation, clear communication, and a shared sense of responsibility. A dedication to fairness and transparency is essential for establishing responsibility within organizations and teams. It is crucial to set up transparent and fair procedures for assessing performance, acknowledging successes, and resolving problems. As a result, everyone involved knows they will be held to the same standard of accountability and can plan accordingly. Organizations and teams can promote accountability by rewarding members for spotting problems early and actively working to solve them. This includes allowing people the freedom to suggest changes, put them into action, discuss novel concepts, and even take some risks. People are more willing to take charge and show responsibility if they feel that their efforts are being recognized and rewarded. Chapter 6. Leadership and Accountability. Leaders are essential in developing a sense of accountability among members of a group or community. Leaders influence their followers for the better by setting a good example of behavior. They serve as examples for others to follow, encouraging them to take personal responsibility for their actions and decisions. Leaders foster a culture of accountability, in part, by making their standards and principles known to everyone. They describe a worldview that places premium on individual accountability and its bearing on the collective good. Leaders make sure their followers know what they're supposed to be doing and why it's important by keeping them in the loop. Leaders encourage team members to step up to the plate by equipping them with the tools, training, and support they need to do so successfully. They make it so that workers know they may make their own choices and are given the freedom to accept responsibility for their output. Leaders help their teams flourish and take ownership of their work by encouraging independence and responsibility. Leaders also encourage a culture of accountability by praising and rewarding responsible actions. People who regularly act responsibly, with integrity, and morally are recognized and respected. Rewarding responsible behavior has a multiplicative effect on society as a whole. Leaders develop admirable role models by shining a light on those who have demonstrated responsible behavior. Leaders are crucial in dealing with and resolving problems that crop up within the group. They show that they are willing to accept blame for any mistakes made and motivate others to do the same. Leaders encourage straightforward speech, helping to foster an environment where followers are at ease making mistakes and contributing to group efforts to find solutions. Leaders foster a sense of shared accountability and establish trust among team members when they are open about the thought process behind decisions and include others in the process when it is warranted. Leaders always set a good example by acting responsibly. They show the way by acting with the utmost honesty and integrity. Leaders can influence others to do the right thing by setting an example of ethical conduct in their own relationships with others. Leaders have a significant role in developing a culture of responsibility by encouraging a growth mentality among their followers. They promote development and growth over time, stressing the value of reflection and personal accountability. Leaders foster a growth-oriented culture when they encourage employees to solicit input, engage in self-reflection, and draw lessons from their experiences, both positive and negative. Collaboration and teamwork are also emphasized by leaders as crucial to fostering a culture of responsibility. They inspire people to collaborate, learning from and building upon the skills of others to accomplish common objectives. Leaders foster chances for teamwork, articulate goals for collaboration, and improve members' capacity to communicate and work together. Leaders can instill a sense of collective responsibility in their followers by stressing the need of working together for the common welfare of the group or community. Leaders stress the need of diversity and inclusion in creating a responsible culture. They understand the importance of listening to and learning from others, and they work hard to foster an atmosphere where everyone may feel safe, heard, and appreciated. Leaders instill a sense of accountability for developing a just and equitable organization or community when they advocate for diversity and inclusion. Leaders also foster an environment where originality and imagination can flourish alongside accountability. They back and encourage others to try new things, think creatively, and offer solutions that may not have been considered before. Leaders encourage accountability by encouraging individuals to take charge of their own ideas and pursue new avenues of inquiry when they foster an environment that rewards creativity. Leaders need to put in place and strictly implement effective accountability measures. They design structures and procedures to enforce accountability and make sure careless actions have real-world repercussions. Methods for doing so include establishing performance criteria, evaluating employees on a regular basis, and giving them feedback to help them grow and continue in the right direction. Leaders can foster an environment where everyone takes personal responsibility by instituting systems of accountability and holding others to high standards. Leaders are also essential in fostering a safe and caring environment that inspires others to act responsibly. They encourage an environment where people feel comfortable taking risks and voicing their opinions without fear of retaliation. A leader is someone who encourages their team to talk to them, takes an interest in what they have to say, and is there to offer advice and assistance when it's needed. Leaders also need to encourage their teams to always be expanding their knowledge and skills. They put effort into their employees' development by facilitating learning and promoting advancement in all facets of life. Leaders inspire followers to be accountable for their own development, while also furnishing the means and opportunities for such development to take place. Leaders who foster a mindset of lifelong learning provide their followers the tools they need to make good judgments, do their jobs well, and make a positive impact. Methods for fostering honesty and trust as a leader. The first step in establishing trust is acting in a trustworthy manner. Maintaining a consistent level of trustworthiness, honesty, and openness in your interactions will encourage others to do the same. Others are more inclined to adopt these values themselves if they observe your dedication to them. The next step in establishing open lines of communication and trust is to practice attentive listening. Pay close attention when other people are talking. Keep your head in the conversation, nod to show you understand, and refrain from interfering. Demonstrate compassion by affirming their experience and validating their emotions. Inviting others to speak freely is facilitated through attentive listening. Being personable and available is also important. Make it so that others feel safe coming to you with questions, comments, or suggestions. Maintain a state of mind that is accepting and tolerant of the ideas and opinions of others. You show that you care about their thoughts and opinions by making yourself available to them. When people believe their efforts are valued, they're more likely to trust those around them. Therefore, it is crucial to honor and commemorate successes. Give encouraging and helpful feedback by pointing out both accomplishments and places for growth. Everyone's efforts are valued, and open communication is encouraged when appropriate praise and criticism are given. Building trust also requires being open and honest. Keep everyone in the loop by regularly and freely disseminating relevant information. It's important to be open and honest about making decisions and sharing facts that could affect others. People are more likely to believe your intentions when they know the rationale behind your judgments, even if they don't always agree with them. Trust and open communication can be fostered by setting reasonable expectations early on. Specify your requirements and encourage others to do the same. This aids in clear communication and encourages responsibility. When people know what is expected of them, they may relax into their jobs and communicate more freely with others. Constructive conflict resolution is especially important in trying circumstances. Foster honest communication and make sure everyone feels comfortable voicing their ideas and concerns without fear of repercussions. Try to see things from each other's points of view to see if you can reach a compromise. Open and courteous discussion of differences can help rebuild trust and keep lines of communication open. A culture of learning and development should also be encouraged. Promote lifelong education and provide people a chance to advance their careers. People are more willing to speak up about their expertise, thoughts, and concerns when they believe their development will be encouraged. Encourage a perspective that sees failure as a stepping stone to success and a springboard for new ideas. People are more likely to feel comfortable taking risks and speaking their minds if they work in a setting that supports their development. Recognizing and appreciating diversity and inclusion are also important for building trust and open communication. Create a welcoming environment that respects and celebrates individuals with varying viewpoints, life experiences, and perspectives. Get everyone involved and make sure their opinions are taken into account. People are more likely to open up and communicate when they know they are accepted for who they are. Trust is built via consistent and open dialogue. Maintain an accessible channel of communication by regularly offering updates, disseminating pertinent data, and asking for input. Maintain a regular cadence and high standard in your interactions with others. When people are updated regularly and they know their opinions matter, they are more likely to open up and share their thoughts. Exercising empathy and understanding can further improve trust and open communication. Learn to empathize with the experiences, emotions, and goals of those with whom you interact. Imagine yourself in their position and try to understand what they're going through. This not only aids in establishing rapport, but also fosters an accepting setting in which people feel safe, sharing their thoughts and feelings freely. Accountability is another crucial factor. Keep your word and your promises to yourself and others. Building trust requires people to own their actions and words. Foster an environment where mistakes and setbacks are discussed openly, and where people take responsibility for their actions and are open to constructive criticism. Consistency is also necessary for developing trust and communicating freely. Maintain coherence between your words and deeds to show that you can be counted on. Trust is lost when promises are broken. Therefore, always do what you say you're going to do. By always acting in the same reliable manner, you give others confidence in you and your interactions with them. Welcome criticism and actively seek the perspectives of others. Seek out the opinions of others and show that you're open to hearing and considering new ideas. Facilitate discussions in which people may provide and receive honest comments and indicate that you value their input. When people are encouraged to provide constructive criticism, they help build a trusting and communicative environment. Importance of helpful criticism to leaders. A new perspective on oneself and one's behavior can be gained through the receipt of constructive criticism. It's like looking in a mirror. It reflects our actions, thoughts, and results so we may evaluate ourselves more accurately. This external perspective aids in the identification of details that could otherwise go unnoticed. Accepting criticism is a sign of maturity and a commitment to growth. It requires modesty, since it requires us to recognize our own fallibility and the possibility of further development. Constructive criticism forces us to leave our comfort zones and face our flaws squarely. It inspires us to forge new paths, both in our personal lives and in our professional endeavors, and to embrace change. We can better capitalize on our abilities after learning about them through constructive criticism. It helps us know the special skills and qualities that we possess that may have been overlooked before. When we focus on what we do well, we increase our self-assurance and drive for further success. We may pinpoint our areas of improvement and work to improve them with the help of constructive criticism. It shows us where our time and energy are best spent so that we can grow as individuals. Feedback highlights our weaknesses and shows us where we may improve, leading us down the path of learning and development. Self-awareness can be greatly aided by receiving and processing constructive criticism. It prompts us to consider the results of our acts and the meanings behind them. It aids in self-awareness by revealing the links between our actions and their outcomes. When we know ourselves better, we can consider the consequences of our actions and make decisions that are in line with our core values. Providing and receiving constructive criticism fosters efficient communication and teamwork. Relationships and trust are strengthened when feedback is given and received with mutual respect and consideration. We foster an atmosphere of open communication and steady progress by viewing criticism as a chance to learn and grow. Constructive criticism is a powerful tool in the quest for self-improvement. It allows us to develop and change in order to realize our greatest potential. Accepting criticism with an open mind allows for growth and paves the way to improve performance. Incorporating helpful criticism into our daily routines helps us mature into our full potential. Both resilience and flexibility can benefit from receiving and processing constructive criticism. It teaches us not to take criticism personally and to instead grow from the experience. The ability to accept criticism constructively equips us to deal with difficulties and failures in our personal and professional life. We develop an attitude of gratitude towards criticism and an eagerness to use it as a springboard for personal development. Constructive criticism also promotes responsibility. It encourages taking stock of one's own behavior and its effects on others. We take responsibility for our progress by actively seeking feedback and integrating it into our self-evaluation. Because of this commitment to taking personal responsibility, we are able to establish and work towards concrete objectives. Our personal prejudices and assumptions can be tested by receiving and processing constructive criticism. Feedback from a variety of people and places helps us see things more clearly and get over our own biases. It challenges us to examine our assumptions and open our minds to new ideas. Being receptive to criticism helps us develop not only as individuals but also as workers and as citizens of the world. Positive criticism fosters a growth mindset. It inspires us to take risks, keep going even when things get tough, and view setbacks as stepping stones to success. Because of this realization, we are better able to bounce back from setbacks, adjust to new circumstances, and push ourselves to grow as individuals. Constructive criticism also inspires introspection. It forces us to reflect on who we are, what we're doing, and what we're choosing. Our beliefs, drives, and goals can all be better comprehended after going through this exercise. Our development can be directed in a way that is meaningful and satisfying if we stay true to who we truly are. Critical thinking is honed in part by receiving and processing constructive criticism. We develop the ability to evaluate information objectively by practicing with multiple viewpoints and considering feedback. We learn to assess circumstances, recognize trends, and make sound judgments. Learning to think critically and make good decisions is a skill that will serve us well in every aspect of our lives. Helpful criticism allows us to establish objectives that are both reasonable and attainable. The feedback we receive helps us evaluate our performance and identify areas for growth. Knowing this, we can make well-informed decisions on the direction of our development. The feedback we receive serves as a compass, pointing us in the direction of achievements that will aid in our growth as a whole. Constructive criticism broadens our horizons and forces us to reevaluate our preconceived notions. This experience helps us become more open to new experiences, accept ambiguity, and adapt to change. When we can take in criticism without getting defensive, we increase our flexibility and our ability to deal with setbacks. Chapter 7. The importance of feedback. In order to progress and improve, both personally and professionally, feedback is a must. Respect and sensitivity must be at the forefront of any feedback that is given. To begin, establish a good mood and make the other person feel at ease so they can listen to your advice. Start off the feedback by praising the person's strengths and achievements. In order to boost their self-esteem and provide the groundwork for future success, it's important to recognize their efforts and highlight their accomplishments. This method prepares the listener for a productive conversation and makes them more sensitive to suggestions for growth. Avoid making broad generalizations or attacking the person personally, and instead focus on particular, observable behaviors or acts when discussing what should be improved. Give specific instances of the conduct or performance you wish to correct. This allows for better self-reflection and understanding on the part of the recipient. Carefully consider the words you use while providing comments. Avoid personal criticism and instead frame your remarks to highlight the significance of the behavior or performance in question. Avoid accusing language that could put the other person on the defensive and instead use I words to share your thoughts and feelings. Receiving feedback effectively requires attentive listening. Keep talking, look at the person giving you feedback, and show that you're interested in what they have to say. You won't get the most out of the criticism if you interrupt or get defensive, so try to avoid doing either. Instead, pay attention to what is being said and probe for clarification if necessary. Be as receptive as possible when being critiqued. Accept criticism as a chance to learn and better, no matter how difficult it may be at the time. Think about how the suggestions fit in with your plans for the future. If the comments are helpful, you can make a plan to fix the problems and look for additional resources to get you there. Keep in mind that feedback is a two-way street, both while offering and receiving. Engage the listener in conversation by asking them to share their reactions to what you've said. This shows that you value their thoughts and encourages them to work together. The timing and setting of feedback are also crucial factors to think about. Pick a time when the person receiving your criticism will be receptive and not stressed out by other obligations. Maintain an atmosphere of trust and confidentiality so that the person receiving criticism can open up without worrying about repercussions. It's important to consider the receiver's preferences and preferred method of interaction before providing feedback. Some people thrive on open and honest criticism, while others do better with a more cooperative and encouraging tone. To ensure that your comments have the most possible impact, you should modify the way you express yourself. Don't think of feedback as something that happens once and is done. Promote open communication channels, such as regular check-ins, team meetings, or anonymous feedback systems, to foster a culture of continual feedback. This paves the way for continuous improvement thanks to quick and useful feedback that can be incorporated into regular operations. Reflect on the input you receive and increase your self-awareness as a result. Keep an open mind about your activities and how they affect those around you. It's important to be open to criticism, even if it goes against your views or makes you feel uneasy. Learn from criticism and use it to better yourself. Understanding that feedback can come from anybody, not just supervisors or coworkers, is crucial. Whether they are subordinates, peers, mentors, or outsiders, get feedback from as many people as possible. This broadens your horizons and helps you see things in new ways, giving you insights you wouldn't have gotten any other way. Keep in mind that feedback is most useful when it is detailed, practical, and fair. Give specific feedback that includes both strengths and areas for development. Motivate and inspire your team by striking a balance between critical feedback and praise. Remember the person's hopes and dreams when providing feedback. Focus your comments on helping them achieve their goals, and show them how to close the gap between their present performance and their ideal outcomes. This individualized strategy demonstrates your interest in and commitment to their development and success. It's important to maintain an attitude of openness and non-defensiveness when accepting comments, even if it's difficult to hear. Don't try to justify your actions or pass the buck. Instead, try active listening when you actively strive to comprehend the other person's point of view. If something is unclear, ask for explanation and show appreciation for their thoughts, even if you disagree with them. Setting goals and developing a joint strategy can improve the efficacy of the feedback process. Work together with the person providing input to determine concrete actions or approaches that may be taken to address the concerns raised. By working together, we can encourage responsibility and dedication to development and maintain a steady flow of assistance and follow-up conversations. Keep in mind that there are many different types of feedback beyond just grades and interviews. Foster transparent communication and informal feedback exchanges to encourage a culture of constant feedback. There should be opportunities for people to provide continuous feedback, as through periodic check-ins, casual talks, or feedback loops. Recognizing that feedback is a two-way street. This means that you should be willing to receive feedback as freely as you provide it. Whether from peers, mentors, or even those who report to you, actively seek out input to help you improve. Take feedback as a chance to improve yourself and your work when given in the right way. Feedback can become a potent instrument for growth, paving the way for more trust, better teamwork, and greater individual and group success. Chapter 8. Barriers to accountability. Accountability is essential for both personal and professional development, yet it can be difficult to overcome typical hurdles and excuses. By being aware of these obstacles, we can work to remove them and promote a culture of accountability. Refusing to admit fault or take responsibility for one's conduct is a huge barrier, since it elicits defensiveness and denial. People may get defensive, try to shift the responsibility, or even deny any wrongdoing. This kind of conduct makes it harder to take responsibility, since it gets in the way of introspection and compromise. The fear of potential repercussions is a common deterrent to taking responsibility for one's conduct. People may avoid accountability to shield themselves from harm, whether that hurt is in the form of rebuke, loss of reputation, or prospective conflicts. This dread has the potential to become a major barrier that encourages a habit of passing the buck and avoiding responsibility. Inability to take responsibility for one's actions and acknowledge the effect they have on others due to a lack of self-awareness. They might not realize the results of their acts or see how their conduct relates to their core beliefs. This ignorance of one's own acts and their consequences can be a major barrier to accountability. People frequently engage in justification and rationalization in order to defend their actions or choices. They may tell themselves stories that rationalize or justify their behavior. People who engage in this practice are able to absolve themselves of responsibility for their actions because they feel they were warranted under the circumstances. Avoiding responsibility by pointing the finger at something or someone else is called blaming external factors. It's common for people to blame external forces for their shortcomings rather than take ownership of their own actions. This habit of placing blame outside of oneself stunts development and slows progress. Individuals may have difficulty taking responsibility if they are not provided with clear expectations and obligations. Confusion and ambiguity result from unstated expectations, making it simpler for people to avoid responsibility by claiming they were unaware of the requirements. Desire for excellence and the dread of failure can leave people frozen in the face of responsibility. Avoidance or denial of reality is common when people are afraid of failing or making a mistake. Because failures are interpreted as indicators of incompetence rather than educational opportunities, this mindset stymies development and advancement. When accountability is not regularly enforced, or when the consequences for failing to be accountable are not made clear, people may be less likely to make an effort to take responsibility for their actions. Without the threat of repercussions, accountability loses some of its urgency and significance. It is only through an awareness of these typical roadblocks and justifications that we can begin to tackle them successfully. Individuals can overcome these obstacles and adopt a culture of responsibility through the use of tactics, including encouraging self-reflection, fostering open communication, setting clear expectations, and instituting repercussions for non-accountability. Mistrust might make it harder to hold people accountable. When people have little trust in their coworkers, bosses, or the company as a whole, they may be less likely to take responsibility for their actions. It is possible to create a culture where trust and accountability thrive through programs aimed at cultivating trust, encouraging open and transparent communication, and setting a good example. A lack of backing and resources can weaken accountability. People may not take ownership if they do not feel equipped to carry out their tasks, or if they do not receive adequate training or support. When people are given the tools they need to succeed, they are more likely to accept responsibility and give it their all in their work. Accountability can also be hampered by a lack of feedback and critical commentary. It might be difficult for people to self-evaluate their behaviors and make necessary modifications when they do not receive timely and detailed feedback on their performance. Holding oneself accountable and adopting a growth attitude are both made more difficult in the absence of constructive criticism. The lack of obvious repercussions for not being accountable is another problem. When people see others shirk blame without repercussions, they may lose motivation to accept responsibility for their own actions. A system of fair and consistent consequences that compels people to live up to their obligations and take ownership of their actions is crucial. Accountability can also be hindered by a lack of motivation or disengagement. Disengagement and lack of interest can make people less likely to accept responsibility for their actions. Motivating and enticing employees to take responsibility requires creating an environment where they like coming to work and where they feel valued as an individual. Cultural and social norms might affect responsibility. There may be a cultural or social norm that discourages taking personal responsibility for one's actions and instead places the emphasis on other people or society as a whole. Methods for overcoming insecurity and doubt in your abilities. Doubt in one's own abilities can be an obstacle to success. It can impede us from reaching our full potential and from taking the risks we need to make progress and achieve our goals. Doubt in oneself and apprehension of failure are universal human experiences. By accepting this, we can see that our difficulties are shared by others. It's important to remember that everyone, even the most accomplished people, has experienced failure and uncertainty at some point in their lives. The development of self-awareness is essential. It's important to go deep and figure out what's making you doubt yourself and afraid to try new things. It could have its roots in unpleasant personal experiences, false beliefs, or societal norms. The more you can learn about the causes, the better you can deal with them. Interrupt your destructive inner monologue. A harsh inner critic that dwells on our flaws and shortcomings is a common source of self-doubt. Substitute upbeat and encouraging thoughts for downbeat ones. Focus on what you've done well in the past and the qualities you possess. Treat yourself with compassion and care, like you would a caring friend. Make steady progress towards your objectives. Convert your long-term goals into shorter-term objectives. Taking baby steps towards your goals can help you gain confidence and prove to yourself that you can succeed. Take setbacks in stride and use them as teaching tools. Don't let your failures define you. Instead, use them as learning experiences. Each setback presents an opportunity to learn something new, which in turn can help you improve your strategy and forge on. Instead than focusing entirely on the destination, value the steps along the way. Create a community of people who will encourage you. Find supporters who will encourage you and your goals. Discuss your concerns with someone you trust, such as family members, close friends, or role models. A more well-rounded understanding of oneself is possible with the support of other people's opinions. Take care of yourself and learn to deal with stress. Taking care of your mental and physical health can have a profound effect on your sense of self-worth. Focus on things that will help you unwind and recharge your batteries. You may reduce stress and calm your mind by working out regularly, eating right, getting plenty of sleep, and exploring mindfulness practices like meditation and journaling. Try to take things slowly and give yourself some room to develop. Though ups and downs are inevitable, using these techniques regularly can help you develop the mental fortitude to persevere through difficult times and move forward with renewed vigor in your pursuit of happiness. Positive affirmations and mental imagery can be really helpful. Make time every day to see yourself accomplishing your goals and seeing yourself as a successful person. Think of the self-assurance, happiness, and contentment that would result. Combine this mental exercise with affirmative remarks that remind you of your strengths and value. Find motivational accounts of people who have triumphed against adversity or hardship and model yourself after them. Reading about their experiences and the challenges they overcame can serve as a source of inspiration and drive. It might help you realize that you can achieve your goals despite your doubts and fears. Bet on your own judgment. Fear of the unknown or the possibility of undesirable outcomes is often at the root of self-doubt and the need to avoid it at all costs. But being overly cautious can cause you to lose out on rewarding experiences. Think out the potential outcomes of your actions and take risks accordingly. Write in a journal regularly to keep track of your feelings, ideas, and accomplishments. Putting your thoughts on paper can be cathartic and help you see things more clearly. Keep a journal to help you evaluate your progress, counteract negative thinking, and zero in on the sources of your self-doubt. Develop a habit of forgiving yourself. Recognize that failure and setbacks are necessary components of growth. Be as patient and nice to yourself as you would be to a good friend. If you've had a setback, give yourself a break and look at it as a learning experience. It's important to keep in mind that conquering insecurities like fear of failure takes time and effort on your part. Treat yourself kindly and rejoice in the small victories along the path. Chapter 9. Cultivating responsibility. Taking personal responsibility for one's actions and their effects on others is essential to fostering an atmosphere where trusting dialogue and mutual understanding can flourish. Responsibility boils down to owning up to slip-ups and improving as a result. When a misunderstanding or dispute arises in a relationship, rather than reverting to blame or defensiveness, each person should accept vulnerability and take responsibility for their part. This willingness to examine one's own motives and actions promotes an environment where people feel safe enough to do the same. Relationships thrive on open lines of communication. Individuals can feel safe enough to share their thoughts, feelings, and worries in an open and safe conversation. The ability to listen attentively and with interest is crucial because it paves the way for the development of empathy. Accountable relationships are built on a core of trust. For the relationship to flourish, all participants must act with honesty and reliability at all times. Consistency between words and deeds is the cornerstone of trust, which in turn creates a feeling of safety. Having well-defined limits and standards in place is also crucial for encouraging accountability. To avoid disappointment and guarantee that each party's demands are addressed, honest and open communication is essential. When people have clear roles and responsibilities, relationships are more harmonious and productive. Accountability promotes problem-solving in relationships rather than pointing fingers when tensions emerge. Rather than ruminate on the difficulties at hand, people pool their resources and expertise to devise workable solutions. Successes and development should be recognized and celebrated as part of the accountability process. Sharing in one another's successes and growth creates an atmosphere of positivity and support that propels development and strengthens bonds. Adopting a culture of responsibility entails accepting that no partnership is faultless and that mistakes will be made on both ends. In these situations, a mindset of mercy and compassion is crucial. Apologizing for wrongdoing and taking ownership for it is a sign of emotional maturity and a dedication to self-improvement. Together, self-awareness, open communication, trust, limits, vulnerability, and forgiveness are what it takes to cultivate accountability in personal relationships. Strong, durable, and rewarding relationships can be formed on a bedrock of mutual respect and understanding if people actively pursue personal growth and promote a culture of accountability. To be accountable is to accept personal responsibility for one's thoughts, feelings, and actions. Accountable people put more emphasis on self-awareness and emotional regulation than they do on projecting bad emotions onto others or expecting them to manage their emotional well-being. They accept personal accountability for their emotional well-being and make conscious attempts to share and process their experiences in a responsible, constructive, and blame-free manner. One way to encourage responsibility is to welcome criticism. Accountable people value their partner's input as a chance to learn and develop themselves. They take the feedback they receive seriously and listen to it without getting defensive. When both parties are heard and appreciated, trust and openness can flourish in a partnership. Responsibility also includes keeping one's word. People keep their word when they promise to do something, no matter how big or small. This dependability bolsters confidence and trust in the partnership. Respect for the other person's feelings, time, and requirements is also reflected. Individual development and ongoing education are also high priorities for accountable people. They are self-aware enough to know that their actions affect the other people in the relationship as well. They are always on the lookout for ways to better themselves, whether that's through formal counseling, introspective reading, or consulting reliable sources. This dedication to self-improvement not only helps the individual, but also strengthens the relationship. Nurturing accountability in close relationships is an ongoing process that calls for attention, introspection, and a dedication to personal development and mutual understanding on the part of all parties involved. By taking personal responsibility for every facet of the relationship, partners may lay the groundwork for a solid partnership based on mutual trust, appreciation, and ownership. Maintaining safe and secure limits in all areas of our lives relies heavily on our ability to hold ourselves accountable for our actions. Taking responsibility for our actions and the outcomes they have is fundamental to accountability, as is living within the boundaries we've set for ourselves and acknowledging those of others. Accountability in intimate relationships helps people set and keep limits that foster appreciation, trust, and fulfillment. Knowing this makes it simpler to respect the limits imposed by those we care about by being more deliberate in our speech, our decisions, and our actions. Accountability promotes honest dialogue by making it safe to talk about limits and address any transgressions that may have occurred. Accountability is essential for upholding decorum in the workplace. It means taking charge of our responsibilities, doing work on time, and being considerate of the needs of our superiors and peers. By taking personal responsibility for our actions, we build trust and respect amongst team members through our consistent performance. Individually, accountability helps us establish and stick to limits that safeguard our psychological, emotional, and physiological health. This calls for some introspection about our own requirements, capabilities, and priorities. When we take responsibility for our own well-being, we learn to say no to unhealthy commitments and yes to those that restore and nourish us. Defining our own limits helps us feel more secure in who we are and gives us the freedom to express ourselves freely. Improving interpersonal relationships. Setting reasonable limits and expectations is crucial. By clearly outlining each party's obligations and sharing their own, partners can better grasp their roles in the partnership. This specificity aids in avoiding misunderstandings and paves the way for a more responsible strategy to fulfilling one another's requirements. Fostering accountability and mutual respect requires first and foremost the establishment of trust. Building trust requires regular, trustworthy actions, as well as the fulfilling of promises. It also necessitates being open and forthright about motivations, actions, and errors. When people trust one another, they have more faith in one another's abilities and motives, which builds a solid basis for responsibility and esteem. Taking ownership of one's actions and their consequences in a relationship is a key component of accountability. This includes taking responsibility for one's actions, apologizing when appropriate, and fixing the damage done. Integrity also entails being trustworthy and dependable in carrying out one's duties. Self-accountability fosters fairness and integrity in a relationship by serving as an example for others to follow. Having mutual regard requires an atmosphere in which people respect one another's space and personal freedoms. It's important to respect the individuality of both partners in a relationship and to accommodate their individual wants and demands. A secure and respectful dynamic can be fostered in which each person can be themselves when these limits are acknowledged and respected. Respect and understanding for one another are also boosted via the cultivation of empathy and compassion. People can form stronger bonds if they make an effort to learn about and empathize with one another's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Having empathy makes it easier to show compassion and understanding in trying situations. As a result, the link is strengthened and mutual respect is promoted since both people involved feel heard, understood, and valued. Accountability and mutual respect are greatly enhanced through dispute resolution. Conflicts may arise, but how they are dealt with can have a major impact on the outcome. When dealing with disagreements, it's crucial to keep an open mind and be willing to compromise in order to find a resolution that works for both parties. Active listening, avoiding personal attacks, and looking for areas of agreement can all contribute to more fruitful conversations that lead to greater mutual understanding. Gratitude and appreciation as a cultural norm can help spread a sense of responsibility and appreciation for one another. It's good for relationships and morale when people make an effort to express gratitude for one another's efforts, traits, and contributions. Validation and mutual respect are strengthened when both partners feel that their contributions have been recognized and appreciated. Recognizing and addressing any power differences in a relationship is also crucial. Disrespect and unjust dynamics can result from an imbalance of power. It is essential that people be given a fair chance to have their voices heard and perspectives considered during the decision-making process. Accountability and mutual respect flourish when power imbalances are openly addressed.